Welcome to Winning the Room. In this episode, we're here with Dan Rosen, president of Warner Music. And as you can imagine, the topic is, you guessed it, music, and the way music and human connection are bedfellows. Let's get into it. I want to take you back 1986. You weren't there, but I was there.
Yeah.
Sting's concert at the Entertainment Centre.
Yeah.
Best venue I think I've ever been to. I loved that venue.
Yeah, such a shame it's no longer.
Yeah. So that was my first concert.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it was the music or the fact that we were allowed out at night by ourselves or something.
Yeah.
But four mates of mine went to that concert.
Yeah.
And we are still so tightly knit. We talk about that moment.
Yeah.
And that concert like it was yesterday.
Yeah.
I guess I just want to start with what is it about music and connectivity? It seems to connect people and almost bind people.
Yeah, I think it's an innate thing in humans. Yeah, I remember it hit me probably, one day seeing you're walking past buskers and just seeing a 3-year-old kid just stop and just start dancing. And it's an innate thing in humans. We've always connected. Music's been a great way to tell story and to connect communities and be part of ritual. And I think it remains that way.
Yeah.
And that's why whether you're sharing that experience by yourself at home listening or like you did, going to a concert and having that experience, it's just the way people mark time and mark experience.
That's it, mark time.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
So sort of put a moment in and then you can go back there through the sound.
Definitely.
Is that
I think so. I think people, it's a common refrain, like you see people, which is why there's so much nostalgia when these, people come back and tour. I mean, Oasis for me.
Yeah.
Is
The Cure for me.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
I've still never got to a concert.
Oh, really?
Well, the Opera House always does that thing where it's like, put your name in and they'll give it out evenly.
Okay.
I'm like, come on, just let me pay more. I'd pay almost anything to see The Cure.
Just ask me. They played up at Spencer in the Grass.
Did they?
Yeah,
I don't
the
even know.
great trick of Robert Smith is because everyone comes dressed like him to the shows.
But I used to dress like him as a kid. I did my hair.
He can go to his own shows, not dressed as him, and just stand in the crowd and no one hassles him. So that
wow.
Yeah, it's The Cure. But no, I think it is one of those things where music, people, like, it takes you back to where you were when you first heard the song, or when you use that song to either get you through a difficult time or to mark a special occasion like a wedding or a birth or mates or a birthday. It's special.
That's funny, actually. My wife gave birth to Tame Impala's album.
Oh, which one?
For Ripley.
Oh, right. Currents would make sense.
It was Currents.
Yeah,
it was Currents. It was that album.
Yeah, right.
It's funny because whenever I hear that album, obviously I'm back.
And
I'm back in that moment.
Probably brings back like a little bit of pain before.
He's like, turn it off. Yeah. No, I'm not even sure if she feels the deep connection with it. But just whenever I also love that album. But whenever I hear it, I'm right back at that moment.
Yeah, I think it's what we do.
Yeah. So what's going on there? It can't just be. Do you know what I mean? Like, is there something more than just what we see or what we hear? There must be.
Definitely. As I said, I think it's like an embedded thing in our DNA. That's why music is part of every culture and is part of every, if you go to a religious service, whether, whatever your religion is, it's part of it. If you go to a sporting event, every team has a theme song. Music's always been the way human beings have found a way to connect or to tell stories or to, be part of a tribe. And I think that's what you get when you're part of a fan base, is you're part of this tribe. And I often say, when I'm trying to raise money for the industry from government, I take them, to a concert and a stadium. I said, there's only two things that fill a stadium is in this country, and that's sport and music. And at least in music, we're all on the same team. There's 70,000 people.
Good pitch.
Yeah, all on the same team.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's no... and so it's a beautiful thing. And you feel it when you're there at those shows where you can kind of get transported and transcended to hopefully a better place.
Yeah.
That's what music does at its best.
Why is music universal? Why is it that universal language? Not everyone can do it, but everyone speaks it. Why is that so?
Yeah. I think it's this innate thing in humanity that it can exist beyond words. We're storytelling animals. And that's the way that we allow things to pass from one person, from one generation to transmit culture. And that's why I think all around the world, music is part of our language.
What was your first concert? Like, what was the first moment where you were like, wow, this is... I obviously like music, but maybe this is more than that.
My thing was actually Sting as well, because
was it?
Yeah, my first...
That's cool.
One of my earliest childhood memories was my mum picking me up from school and telling me that Every Breath You Take won the Grammy for Song of the Year. That must have been 1984.
Huh.
And I remember that's the first album I ever bought, Synchronicity by The Police, on red vinyl. I still have it.
Amazing.
I've taken it every house.
So good.
And apartment or room that I've lived in. I've taken it with me. And so that was my first moment of like where I can remember that music meant a lot to me.
Wow.
And yeah.
Did you see them live?
I saw them live, but only much
years
like
later,
when they reformed.
Yeah.
I've seen Sting a few times. I mean, he's probably one of the cooler guys going around.
He's up there.
Yeah.
He's up there.
And super talented. So I think that was for me. Growing up, my parents actually took me to a lot of gigs. I went to Elton John a lot when he used to come to Australia. I've like Elton John, Tina Turner, Lionel Richie, which was very special.
Yeah.
Those gigs. And then I played in bands my whole life, but I never really realized that I loved music more than other people probably until I was, 15, 16.
Okay.
Yeah. Whereas
okay. You realize suddenly, wait a sec, I'm more connected than others.
Yeah, I care about it.
I love it more.
Yeah, love it
more.
Think about it more. Yeah,
okay.
So that was...
Yeah, take us back to second, Dan. Tell me what that was like. Must have been amazing.
Yeah, well, I'd always... As I say, I always played in bands at school. I probably took footy AFL more seriously when I was, teenager. That, probably at 13, 14, if you said rock star or playing for Collingwood, I would have said playing for Collingwood.
Yeah.
Probably by 16, 17, I realised that wasn't going to happen. I'd always been playing in bands, played in a bunch of bands at uni, at Monash Uni, and then started writing my own stuff and playing in original bands. And Second Dan was the band that won Triple J Unearthed, which was a bit of like the name was a joke on my alter ego.
Really?
Yeah, and I also started with.
I thought maybe it was a karate thing.
Well, it was always, and there was
because that's like a second Dan black belt.
Yeah,
right?
well, there was always someone that would come up after us after a gig and go, "Oh, I'm a second Dan," and I'd be like, well, "Don't pick a fight."
Exactly, please,
because I don't know.
Want to work in security?
Yeah. So playing live and it's still the best. It's hard. You realize how hard it is. And I know that now when I'm working with artists, getting your 10,000 hours up, being on a stage, knowing how to connect with an audience, learning what works, what doesn't work, learning not to freak out when shit inevitably goes wrong, because it always does. But it's a great education.
Yeah, what did you learn when you were on stage or wherever performing?
Yeah.
What did you learn about that audience artist connection?
Yeah. It's a really interesting one because you get more comfortable. Actually, the bigger the show, the easier it gets, because I think
really?
I
think that's surprising. I mean, I wouldn't have thought that. I would have thought more is more.
I think with crowds, when it becomes like a massive, more people, you don't actually necessarily have to look at the one person on the people that have phones, not listening or not enjoying it.
Yeah.
The small crowds, it's people.
It's funny because
it's
funny because in the corporate world, I think people fall into that feeling of, there's heaps of people, so I don't really need to focus on anybody.
Yeah.
And what you end up with is quite a disconnect.
Yeah.
Speech, keynote, potentially performance.
Yeah.
I'm always trying to get people to, even if there's 1,000 people, still focus on individuals and have that one-on-one connection.
Yeah.
Because then everybody else sees the one-on-one connection and actually gets a bit of a halo from it.
For sure. And I think it's the same in recording and if in shows, and even if you go to the big shows.
Yeah. They do. They single
Coldplay, Dua Lipa. Like Dua Lipa was just huge. You go out in the audience, you'll have a one-on-one conversation. I think it's that way of.
Okay, so that's that idea playing out.
I think so. I think you want everybody in the room to make them feel special and make them feel like they've got a connection with you. And sometimes finding that one person enables that to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once footy didn't work out, surely Rockstar was the dream.
Well, Rockstar was the dream, but
I imagine it's still the dream. Be honest.
Absolutely, I'm still waiting for the call up. But
would you quit it all for that? If someone was like, "Okay, Dan, second down, it's going to happen.
Listen,
you go to the top." Would you quit everything and focus?
I still think if you're, when you go see Coldplay or Ed Sheeran or Taylor Swift, like to be at the top of your game, or the Rolling Stones. People say, why do the Rolling Stones keep playing? It's like they're 80. I'm like, because
it's
they're 80.
Crack. But also, how could you not?
Yeah, and if you're 80 and 80,000 people still want to turn up and see what you do, how cool is that? I still think if you're able to, perform your art, travel the world, and people are singing your songs, it's not a bad gig. But that being said, I feel really privileged at the moment, and I think I'm much better suited.
So resign and take that rock star life, or not?
No. I'm looking for the next rock stars. I'm all about enabling the next one. And I certainly didn't have what it takes to be what you need to be a super artist. Like I
break
think
that down for me. What do you mean?
It's because it's an incredible.
Let me start with knowing you well as I do.
Yeah.
I don't think there are many things you don't have what it takes to do.
So
I'm very intrigued to know what you think you don't have to be a rock star.
I think because I like doing lots of things and I've always been multifaceted.
Mm-hmm.
I studied law, I've worked in politics, I love technology. So I think I was never single-minded enough to focus on, that. And I think certainly what you need always, but in today's world more than ever, is like a single-minded dedication to being an artist. And it's not there's no guarantees in art. I think in the creative world, in the business world, you can be, an okay accountant, an okay lawyer, advertising, and earn a living.
Yeah.
You can be a great artist, but still the world doesn't turn in your favor, luck doesn't run your way, and you might end up with not making.
So the chasm between...
It's very binary.
Got it.
Very binary. Okay. And the artists that make it are the ones, that are just, this is all I'm going to do. I will only do this and I'll dedicate myself until it happens. And that was probably not my personality. And I was, Michael Gudinski told me once, when I won Triple J Unearthed, and I'm like, I won Unearthed, and, I've won a Fulbright Scholarship to do my Masters of Law in New York, and I don't know what to do. It's like, not my problem, you're overeducated. So I think there was a bit of that with him.
It's great though, I love it.
Oh, it was great. He was the best. I miss him every day.
Yeah.
One of the greats. But, so I think today, being in the position I'm in, which is an enormous privilege, to help, younger artists and, mid-career artists achieve their dreams is very special, and navigate what is an increasingly complicated, complex environment to be successful in creativity, which has never been easy. And I think in today's world presents even more unique challenges.
Yeah. And is it technology that's driving that complexity, or
I think
globalization?
The twin drivers are globalization and technology drives globalization and vice versa. And we exist really in Australia. There are 4 or 5 big global platforms: Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Amazon, where people are consuming and finding, and TikTok, discovering music and finding music. So, which is when you and I were growing up in the olden days, Australian artists had that ability to connect through radio, through television, whether it was Hey Hey It's Saturday or Countdown.
Yeah, Countdown, absolutely.
And through record stores.
And pubs.
And then live.
Cold Chisel, I saw at a pub.
Yeah, and, Chisel, The Oils, The Divinals, Icehouse, all that in excess, that entire generation.
This is the music I still love, by the way.
Me too.
Like Australian music from back then, I just don't know if it's ever been any better. I'm sure you're going to disagree with me, but...
No, I don't. I think, going back to your point about connection, people's favourite music is typically the music they loved and experienced from 14 to 24, 25.
Okay.
They're the formative years,
Right.
That's the years of your life where you're finding yourself.
They're probably the moments you want to remember as well.
Exactly.
I saw it on my functions. I was still,
Yeah, exactly. I
was still good looking. Come on, take me back.
You're doing all right. But I think that's, it's when your formative years, and you first fall in love, you first fall out of love, you have your first job, you get your first car, you have your first hangover, you find your first mate, you find a connection. That music is typically what you go back to because it's a nostalgia for you. And that's not to say that you don't discover music as you get older, but typically life gets in the way,
Yeah.
And so I think, but that period in particular for Australian music was incredibly powerful. And there was that pub culture because you couldn't sit at home and go, I want to have Uber Eats, Netflix, and swipe right or left on a dating app and not have to leave my house. Like you had to leave your house for entertainment.
Yeah.
And the pubs were the lifeblood of, Australian culture.
Yeah.
And again, it was like pre-DJ culture. So you actually needed someone to entertain you, and they were the bands. And they became so good at entertaining crowds. And by the time they used to get overseas, that's why Aussie bands were always considered incredibly good live because they were driving up and down the coast, playing gigs every night.
So they had a chance to really figure out how to connect. That connecting with audiences.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they were, they were sometimes rowdy audiences.
Yeah.
So that's why the music's pretty...
You get good feedback in those audiences.
Very good. Yeah, they were not backwards in coming forwards. So I think that was, that's why that music's pretty muscular and pretty hard driving because you needed to entertain a crowd.
Yeah.
And that definitely was that whole era.
Let's go back to second Dan. I'm going to start there. So you're an artist, you're on stage. It's not going well.
Yeah.
You're not getting that feedback from the crowd.
Yeah.
You're starting to look around the boys going, what do we do?
Yeah.
Tell me about, if that ever happened, tell me about the experience. But more importantly, what did you do to sort of get the audience back, to win them back?
Yeah, I think it's not easy. I think your first inclination is to go inshallah, because it's a pretty direct feedback. And I think it's, trying to remember to trust the process and trust your instincts and try and use the power of your band to propel what you're trying to do. And sometimes you just need to forget about it and get on with it.
Yeah.
But it's difficult. As I said, I don't think I was that great at it, which is why I didn't, it probably didn't resonate. I didn't go forward with my career on it. But it is definitely something that the greats can turn on a dime and do it. And,
do they have bad nights, the greats?
Absolutely. But you don't know about it. Sometimes I'm backstage with a big artist and they're played to 60,000
Can you tell me a specific story?
I don't want to name names because that would be betraying confidences, but you'll go because they're perfectionists and they will think about the one dance move that they got wrong or the one note that they didn't hit. In a concert of 2.5 hours that everybody walks out elated. But that's why they're the best, because they go back and they go, all right, well, we missed that. We didn't do that. How do we keep getting better?
Details.
And then, I'm working out what worked one night, why it didn't work the next night. And often that's why these big tours, sometimes get better as they go on because they can iterate the show. And then the great artists, someone like, with Springsteen and they feel the energy of a crowd, and they might walk out without a set list, and they might just feel, they might have the first 4 or 5 songs, but then, he's notorious for calling an audible and calling out a song that just, to keep the vibe going.
Huh.
And Dylan does that as well. And,
right.
And I think,
I call that tight loose.
Yeah,
going with a tight plan. But actually run it loose.
I think the best artists are able to do that. The best artists are the ones that you're able to recalibrate on the night. And sometimes it's difficult because more shows, you got pre-programmed lights and explosions. Yeah. But then, often, even, Coldplay on their last tour, you can see them when they go and do the what they call the B stage, where Dua Lipa just did that on her last tour. And it's just the band and them singing, where it's just, there's no trickery, there's no backing tracks. It's just them without a safety net.
Yeah. That's them driving the authenticity, right?
And it's
bringing the audience.
And you can often say it's like it can be often their favorite parts, because it's like being a band when they were playing in a small little club again. Yeah.
So when you say B stage, you mean often that little stage. It's kind of in the audience. Correct.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. And so you'll notice, like,
U2 used to do that. I'm showing my age here, man, but U2 used to do that incredibly well. Like Bono'd go backstage, become that devil character, and then walk out into that little stage area and just be so close to fans.
That's when you realise, oh my God, it's just 4 people making music, and how good they are at that. Yeah, with no trickeries, no auto tunes, no backing tracks, just the primal people connecting and making music. And greats can do that, and or they strip back, and whether it's Taylor Swift or Barnesy does it here, and it's just piano and him singing, and
they are my favourite moments, I've got to say.
Yeah,
where the facade is removed. Yeah. And it's more intimate, really. I guess that's the point.
Yeah. Yeah. And you see how great the song is because it's existing just in its pure state. So I think that's the great moments where the great artists can find that connection point.
Yeah. I read recently about a chemical reaction that happens in the human brain when you see true synchronicity, i.e. a band just completely in sync. I mean, they call it tight or something, whatever they call it in music. Yeah. Where they're just completely, everything's just exactly at the right time, and all these things are synchronized. Yeah. Apparently there's a chemical reaction that happens in the brain. Right. That just gives you like a feeling of joy and euphoria when you see just that beautiful synchronized.
Yeah. Well, it is, because it's a very difficult thing, keeping a band together and in time, and you can see it sometimes if you look on their faces, they know that they've hit it. Yeah, and that's kind of like surfers looking for the for the barrel. It's
like flow state, isn't it?
It is. Really? It's flow state. And you can search a long time for that, and there's a lot of time waiting around in music to go and play your 2-hour gig, and so when that's the thing that keeps you coming back, is that moment where like everything works, everything sounds good, you're in sync, in harmony, and that's the barrel, the perfect wave, the perfect chord. That's what you're kind of searching for. Yeah. And that perfect connection with the audience.
I think people can find that in almost anything you do. Yeah. Like, it's going to sound so ridiculous compared to that, but in a room with a bunch of executives, and the presentation is just, it's beautiful and perfect. All the team members do what they're meant to do.
100%.
You have this feeling of flow, and it's
100%.
It's super rewarding. Yeah, even in just a corporate sense, but almost in any vocation, I would imagine.
Well, you got to look for that.
Yeah.
I think.
Otherwise, why? It's a good point. Yeah, you must.
I feel like, and again, yes, you don't have to be a rock star to be a rock star. I think like finding that ability in your work. And when you've worked bloody hard to get to a result in a team and you nail it as a team, there's no better feeling. And that doesn't matter if you're winning a pitch in advertising or nailing a case as a lawyer, or
like doing something in the medical profession, just like absolutely solving a problem together.
Yeah. And I think that's the beauty of working in teams.
Yeah.
where you rely on other people when you're actually working towards a goal together. And, that I say a lot, it takes a lot of effort to make something feel effortless. And when it's that effortless feeling that you've run the scenario so many times, you've worked on the pitch, you've worked on the deck, you've worked on, the deal. And when it all comes together, it's that feeling.
Yep.
Of being in the barrel of the wave, which I've never done, by the way. But I'm told it's beautiful. I have stood up. I do stand up on one.
I know you're a surfer, so you're clearly, you're looking for the barrel, man. It's good.
I'm looking for it.
It's good. Thanks for listening to this episode. It's a really important conversation that needs to happen, and you can find us anywhere where you get high-quality podcasts. If you enjoyed this conversation as much as I did, make sure you check out the next episode.